Faith without action is dead. You can say you have faith all day long, but faith isn't what you say, it's what you do when no one is watching. Faith is not a concept you repeat to sound spiritual or strong. It's a force that moves your hands, shifts your behavior, and transforms your results. Faith is the foundation, but action is the structure built upon it. Without movement, even the strongest faith remains a dream waiting for life to happen. Too many people talk about what they're believing for, but never step into what they're believing toward. They wait for the perfect sign, the perfect timing, the perfect opportunity, and in doing so, they waste the perfect chance to trust what they already know deep within, that God works through their obedience, not their hesitation. See, faith is not passive. It's not sitting around hoping your circumstances will change. Faith is active participation in the promise you've been given. It's when you take a step, even when the ground doesn't look solid. It's when you invest in your growth before the money feels enough. It's when you speak confidently about where you're going, even though your reality hasn't caught up yet. That's what separates those who wish from those who win. Faith requires that you move. It doesn't ask if you're ready, it asks if you're willing. Because readiness is comfort, but willingness is courage. When you truly believe something, your actions prove it. If you believe in abundance, you stop talking like you're broke. If you believe in purpose, you stop wasting time on things that don't build it. If you believe in growth, you stop surrounding yourself with people who love your potential but hate your progress. Faith will always require that you do something that feels uncomfortable, because comfort zones are where faith goes to sleep. God doesn't reward your comfort, He rewards your commitment. You have to understand this truth. Faith is a seed, but seeds don't grow just because you believe in them. They grow because you plant them, water them, protect them, and give them time to take root. Many people have seeds of faith stored inside, but never plant them in the soil of action. They say, one day I'll start that business. One day I'll work on my body. One day I'll fix that relationship. But one day becomes no day when you never turn belief into behavior. Faith demands motion. It demands that you step forward when logic says stay still. Because faith sees what the eyes can't and acts on what the heart knows. Let me tell you something. Faith isn't meant to be safe. It's meant to stretch you. It's meant to pull you beyond the limits of your comfort and into the territory of your calling. Every person who ever accomplished something remarkable didn't wait until they felt ready. They acted as if it was already done. They didn't have proof. They had purpose. And that purpose gave them the courage to keep walking even when the path didn't make sense. Your faith will be tested. Not because the universe wants to break you, but because your growth requires proof of what you truly believe. You say you want success, but can you keep working when no one claps? You say you trust God, but can you keep moving when the doors stay closed? You say you believe in abundance, but can you still give when your pockets feel empty? That's the difference between people who talk faith and people who walk faith. Real faith doesn't crumble under pressure, it deepens. It doesn't flee from the storm, it anchors. You've got to stop praying for opportunities you're not preparing for. You've got to stop waiting for everything to align before you take your first step. The alignment happens after you move. The miracle happens after the motion. You can't ask for a blessing you refuse to participate in. You can't say you trust God and then sit idle while He's waiting on you to take action. Faith is a partnership. You do your part, and the divine handles the rest. When you move in faith, you activate the unseen. You stir up things that logic can't explain. Doors start opening that weren't even visible before. People begin showing up who were never on your radar. Circumstances begin to shift in your favor, not because luck suddenly found you, but because you aligned your action with your belief. Here's the truth. You don't need more signs. You don't need more motivation. You need more movement. Stop asking for confirmation about what you already know is right. Stop waiting for someone else to validate what's been placed on your heart. Faith is your permission slip. The vision you've been given is already the green light. Every time you act in faith, you create momentum. And momentum is spiritual energy. It's proof that you trust the process, even when you can't see the progress. It's the difference between saying, I hope it happens, and declaring, it's already done. Because faith doesn't look at the situation, it looks through it. It doesn't fixate on what's missing. It focuses on what's possible. You are not called to live by sight. You are called to live by trust. That means even when it looks like nothing's happening, everything's happening. That means even when your plans fall apart, they're actually falling into alignment. That means even when the door shuts, it's redirecting you to the one that's truly meant for you. Faith doesn't mean you won't face fear. It means fear no longer dictates your decisions. So today, stop saying you're waiting on the right time. The right time is the moment you decide to act. Stop saying you're waiting on God to move. He's waiting on you to move. The promise is already there. The next step is already shown. The only question is whether your actions match your prayers. Faith without works is just a wish, but faith with works creates results that change everything. When you wake up tomorrow, act as if the thing you're believing for is already yours. Speak like it's done. Work like it's guaranteed. Because that kind of faith, the kind that walks when it can't see the road, that's the kind that moves mountains. The power of believing before seeing. There is a moment in every person's life where they are called to believe in something that hasn't yet shown up. That's the true test of faith, not believing after you've seen the evidence, but believing before there's any visible proof at all. Most people only trust what they can touch, what they can measure, what they can predict, but that's not faith, that's observation. Faith is when you stand in front of nothing and call it something. It's when your circumstances say impossible and your spirit says not yet. It's when your mind wants to give up, but your heart whispers, keep going. Believing before seeing is a spiritual principle that separates the average from the extraordinary. The average person waits for results before they believe. The extraordinary person believes until results show up. This mindset doesn't come naturally. It's built through discipline, conviction, and experience. Because when you walk by faith, you have to get comfortable being misunderstood. People will call you unrealistic, delusional, too optimistic. But that's because they only see the surface. They don't see the unseen structure being built underneath your belief. They don't see how your conviction reshapes the world around you, one decision at a time. When you believe before seeing, you begin to activate a law that governs success. The inner world creates the outer world. Everything you experience externally is a reflection of what you've already accepted internally. If you want a different outcome, you must first build a different belief. You can't expect abundance while holding on to a poverty mindset. You can't expect peace while constantly replaying pain. You can't expect greatness while believing you're unworthy. Your world will never rise higher than the story you tell yourself every day. Let's be honest, believing before seeing is not easy. It means showing up to the gym before your body changes. It means working on your business before the profits arrive. It means studying, learning, grinding, even when no one recognizes your effort. It means trusting that your seed will grow even when the soil looks dry. And yet, that's exactly how transformation happens. The miracle doesn't come to those who wait for proof, it comes to those who move in faith despite the lack of it. Every great achievement started with someone who could see the invisible. Before the airplane, there was a man who saw flight in his imagination. Before the light bulb, there was a man who saw illumination in his mind. Before your breakthrough, there must be a version of you who already believes it's possible. The world doesn't give you permission to believe, it responds to your decision to do so. See, your beliefs are blueprints. Whatever you believe shapes what you build. You can't live beyond your belief system. If you think small, your world shrinks. If you think bold, your opportunities expand. But the shift starts inside. You can't wait for validation from people who don't share your vision. You can't depend on encouragement from people who have never walked your path. You must learn to fuel your faith with your own conviction. The power of believing before seeing is that it rewires your perception. Instead of saying, I'll believe it when I see it, you begin saying, I'll see it because I believe it. That shift may sound simple, but it's life-altering. Because what you focus on expands. When you focus on what's wrong, you multiply fear. When you focus on what's possible, you multiply faith. And when you consistently feed faith, your decisions begin to align with destiny. Believing before seeing teaches patience. It forces you to detach from the illusion of instant gratification. It reminds you that the process is just as sacred as the promise. You learn to stop judging your progress by how fast it happens and start celebrating that it's happening at all. You stop demanding proof from life and start producing proof through your consistency. Because the truth is, your belief doesn't manifest things instantly. It manifests the process that leads to the thing. Faith plants the seed, but consistency waters it. And here's what most people miss. Your belief isn't just mental, it's magnetic. It attracts experiences that match its frequency. That's why when you start believing in yourself, opportunities suddenly appear that were always there but invisible to the unbelieving version of you. When you elevate your mindset, you start noticing possibilities that others overlook. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? That single shift from doubt to curiosity opens doors that fear keeps locked. But believing before seeing requires resilience. Because the moment you start walking in faith, resistance will test you. Doubt will whisper, what if it doesn't work? Fear will say, you're wasting your time. Your old habits will try to drag you back to the comfort of predictability. That's when you must remember, if it were easy, everyone would do it. You've got to hold your vision tighter than your fear. You've got to speak life when everything around you looks lifeless. You've got to keep building even when the world says it's foolish. Faith is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you step into the unknown, the less intimidating it becomes. You begin to realize that the unknown isn't your enemy. It's your proving ground. Every challenge, every delay, every disappointment becomes a training session for your belief. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start declaring, this is happening for me. Because when you believe before seeing, you trust that every step, even the painful ones, is leading you somewhere necessary. There's something powerful about acting as if it's already done, not pretending, but embodying. When you begin to walk, talk, and think from the reality you desire, your mind and body begin aligning with it. You start making decisions that your future self would make. You start setting standards that match your vision, not your circumstances. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. And alignment is how heaven meets earth in your life. When you truly believe before seeing, you stop chasing things. You start attracting them. You stop begging for opportunities. You start becoming the person that opportunities are drawn to. You stop praying for things to change and start changing yourself so that the world around you adjusts in response. That's what it means to put your faith to work. It's not just about words, it's about becoming the living evidence of what you believe. So if you're in a season where nothing seems to make sense, where the results haven't caught up to your effort, where you're working in silence and no one seems to notice, don't lose faith. You are not behind. You are being refined. The soil may look barren, but the roots are growing deep. Keep believing before you see it, because soon you won't just see it, you'll live it, acting on what you believe. Faith is not an emotion. It's not a feeling you wake up with when life feels easy. Faith is a decision, a deep conviction that what you believe in is worth acting on, even when everything around you looks uncertain. Too many people confuse belief with passive hope. They think faith means sitting still and waiting for miracles to show up at their doorstep. But that's not how transformation works. You cannot pray for growth and stay the same. You cannot ask for open doors while refusing to move your feet. Faith isn't about waiting for signs, it's about becoming the sign. Acting on what you believe means taking steps that match your words. It means aligning your behavior with your declarations. If you say you believe that you're destined for more, then your habits should reflect that belief. If you say you believe you're worthy of greatness, then your standards should rise to meet that statement. You can't live a high-level life with low-level discipline. You can't expect divine outcomes with inconsistent actions. Every breakthrough you've been praying for is waiting on the other side of action that matches your faith. You see, talk is easy, motivation is easy, excitement is easy. What's hard is execution. What's hard is showing up when the motivation fades, when the applause stops, when the results aren't immediate. Acting on your belief means being faithful to the process even when the promise feels distant. It's planting when the soil looks dry, trusting that your seed has power even if the ground doesn't show it yet. It's pushing forward when everyone else slows down. It's believing that your effort is not in vain, because you're not just working for results, you're working for refinement. When you act on what you believe, you begin to build momentum. And momentum is a force of faith. It multiplies your confidence, strengthens your resolve, and silences your doubt. Every small step forward, even the unseen ones, sends a signal to the universe that you're serious, that you're not just wishing for change, you're preparing for it. Because faith without preparation is fantasy. And too many people pray for success but remain unprepared for what success demands. You can't receive what you're not ready to sustain. Acting on your belief builds the capacity to handle the blessing once it arrives. Let's make this practical. If you believe you're meant to start a business, then start building the plan. If you believe you're called to teach, start studying and developing your voice. If you believe you're destined for abundance, start managing your finances like a steward, not a spender. Faith doesn't make you lazy, it makes you responsible. It makes you proactive. It shifts you from saying one day to saying today. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, moves you closer to manifestation. But here's the truth. Acting on your belief will always be uncomfortable. Because faith will often require you to move before you feel ready. It will ask you to speak when your voice shakes, to build when your hands tremble, to walk when the path is unclear. You won't always feel confident, but you must stay committed. You won't always feel strong, but you must stay steady. The power is not in perfection, it's in persistence. Every time you act despite fear, fear loses its grip. Every time you move, despite uncertainty, your confidence grows stronger. Faith demands courage because action always exposes you to risk. You might fail, you might be misunderstood, you might face rejection. But understand, this failure in motion is more powerful than fear and stagnation. The person who steps forward in uncertainty will always learn more than the one who stays stuck in hesitation. You can fix mistakes, you can recover from losses, but you can't correct what you never attempt. Inaction is the real enemy of destiny. When you act on what you believe, you become a co-creator of your reality. You stop waiting for miracles and start participating in them. Because miracles don't happen to you, they happen through you. Every time you take a step in faith, you give God something to work with. When you move, the universe moves with you. When you sow effort, you invite harvest. And the beauty of this process is that you don't have to know how everything will work out, you just have to keep working. The how reveals itself to the doer, not the dreamer. Acting on your belief also means trusting divine timing. You won't always see results right away, but that doesn't mean your faith isn't working. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not valuable. Every seed takes time to germinate. Every vision takes time to manifest. The waiting period is not punishment, it's preparation. The time between your action and your result is the space where your character is being shaped, where your endurance is being tested, and where your humility is being refined. Don't rush it, don't despise it. That process is building the version of you who can carry the blessing without breaking under its weight. Sometimes acting on faith means letting go of control, because when you truly believe, you stop micromanaging the outcome. You stop worrying about how it will happen, and you start focusing on who you're becoming while it happens. You let your faith lead and your fear follow. You shift from forcing outcomes to flowing with purpose. That doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you do everything you can while trusting God with what you can't. When you act on what you believe, your confidence grows not because of what you accomplish, but because of what you overcome. You stop defining yourself by results and start defining yourself by resilience. You stop saying, "I'll believe it when I see it," and start declaring, "I'll see it because I believed it." You realize that every time you choose faith over fear, you're rewriting your story. You're no longer the victim of circumstance, you're the author of your destiny. Faith is not about perfection, it's about direction. It's about getting up one more time than you fall. It's about choosing belief one more time than you doubt. It's about taking the next right step, no matter how small, because small steps compound into unstoppable momentum. And eventually, the same people who doubted you will wonder how you did it. But you'll know you didn't wait to see it before you acted. You acted until it became visible. So keep moving, keep believing, keep working. Don't let fear stop your feet from walking toward what you prayed for. Your faith is proven not by what you say you believe, but by what you're willing to do about it. The results will come not because you wished for them, but because you worked your faith until the unseen became undeniable, enduring when the results don't show yet. There will come a season in your life when everything feels still. You've prayed, you've worked, you've sacrificed, and yet nothing seems to move. The vision looks far away, the progress feels slow, and doubt starts whispering louder than faith. That is the season where most people give up. They mistake silence for abandonment and delay for denial. But what they fail to see is that the waiting season is not wasted time, it's sacred time. It's the part of the process that reveals whether your faith was built on emotion or conviction. Because faith isn't proven in the moment you start, it's proven in the moments you're tempted to stop. Enduring when the results don't show yet requires a different level of strength. It's not the kind of strength that looks impressive. It's not loud or glamorous. It's quiet. It's unseen. It's the strength of consistency. The strength to wake up one more day and do what's right, even when it doesn't feel rewarding. The strength to keep planting when the ground still looks barren. The strength to believe that the seed still has power, even when there's no sprout in sight. This is where your faith graduates. Anyone can believe when things are blooming. Anyone can smile when life is producing fruit. But the real test of faith is in the waiting, in the dry seasons, in the hidden stages, in the silent stretches where it seems like heaven is quiet. That's where your maturity is forged. That's where your character is sculpted. Because if God gave you the blessing before you were ready, the blessing could destroy you. The waiting season isn't a pause, it's preparation. Think about it like this. A seed planted in the ground doesn't sprout immediately. It goes through darkness. It's buried, surrounded by pressure, unseen and ignored. But beneath the soil, something powerful is happening. The seed is breaking open. The roots are forming. The foundation is strengthening. And just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not growing. That's your life when you're walking by faith. You might not see results on the surface, but transformation is happening underground. Your roots are being prepared to hold the weight of the fruit that's coming. Endurance is the bridge between faith and manifestation. Without endurance, faith fades into frustration. You start strong, but you don't finish. You declare big goals, but you quit before the breakthrough. The problem isn't that you lack ability, it's that you lack patience. And patience isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not about sitting still, it's about standing firm. It's the decision to stay committed to your calling when comfort tries to convince you otherwise. When results don't show yet, your emotions will betray you. You'll feel forgotten, you'll feel unseen, you'll feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling, but you can't let feelings dictate your faith. Feelings fluctuate, but truth remains. And the truth is, just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not valuable. Just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. Every minute of your waiting season is working something within you: patience, humility, focus, trust. The same fire that tests your endurance is the one that purifies your purpose. Enduring when results don't show yet also requires trust in divine timing. There's a rhythm to life that you can't rush. The same way seasons unfold in perfect order, your life unfolds at the pace that's right for your growth. If you rush winter, you'll miss the roots that need to develop. If you force spring, you'll ruin the harvest. Timing matters as much as effort. Faith means doing what you can when you can, while trusting that the outcome will appear when it's meant to. The challenge is that we live in a culture of instant gratification. We want results now. We want growth without process, reward without waiting, success without sacrifice. But true success doesn't come overnight. It's built brick by brick, day by day, moment by moment. Every small act of discipline, every quiet day of effort, every hidden season of struggle is laying a foundation. The problem is, most people quit during construction because they can't yet see the building. They walk away when they're only inches from breakthrough. Don't make that mistake. Your future self will thank you for not quitting when quitting seemed easiest. When the results don't show, that's the moment to deepen your faith, not doubt it. That's the time to sharpen your vision. Review your goals. Refocus your intention. Remind yourself why you started in the first place. Because when the why is strong enough, the waiting won't break you. You'll understand that delay is part of destiny. Every great achiever has gone through a season of obscurity where it looked like nothing was happening, yet everything was being set up behind the scenes. Think about the farmer who plants a seed. He doesn't dig it up every morning to check if it's growing. He waters it, he protects it, he waits. That's faith in action. He knows that growth takes time, and he trusts that the unseen process will eventually produce visible fruit. You've got to treat your life the same way. You can't keep doubting your effort just because the harvest hasn't arrived yet. You must nurture your belief like that farmer nurtures his field with consistency, patience, and trust in the laws that govern growth. Enduring in silence also teaches you something valuable. It reveals what you truly worship. Do you serve the outcome, or do you serve the process? Do you love the reward, or do you love the discipline that leads to it? When your motivation comes from purpose instead of performance, you stop being shaken by delays. You realize that the journey is the reward. The person you're becoming through the process is worth more than the result you're chasing, because results come and go, but who you become lasts forever. Here's the truth. The longer it takes, the more it builds. Fast success fades fast. Deep roots produce lasting fruit. Endurance doesn't just prepare you for blessings, it qualifies you for them. When you can remain faithful without recognition, when you can stay consistent without applause, when you can believe even when it looks impossible, that's when heaven trusts you with more. That's when doors start opening that effort alone could never unlock. You might not see the result right now, but you're being shaped for it. Every delay has a purpose. Every quiet moment has a lesson. Every test of patience is training you for something greater. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Keep working when no one's watching. Your consistency is building credibility. Your endurance is developing power. And one day soon, the results that once seemed invisible will show up so clearly that even your doubters won't be able to deny them. So don't give up in the middle. Don't curse your process. Don't let the silence make you stop. Keep your faith active and your endurance firm. because what's coming will make sense of everything you've been through. When the results finally appear, you'll realize that every delay, every disappointment, and every quiet season was not punishment, it was preparation for the promise, becoming the example of living faith. At some point in your journey, you must realize that faith isn't just something you talk about, it's something you live. It's not proven by the words you say when everything's going right, it's proven by the choices you make when nothing seems to work. Living faith means becoming the evidence of what you believe. It means walking so deeply in conviction that your life itself becomes a testimony, not just of what you've achieved, but of what you've endured, trusted, and surrendered to along the way. To become an example of living faith, you must understand that your life is a message someone else is reading. Every decision, every response, every season of struggle and triumph is telling a story. The way you handle your waiting seasons, your disappointments, and your breakthroughs, all of it reveals what you believe about God, about purpose, and about yourself. There are people watching you right now, not to criticize, but to learn how to hope again. They're looking to see if your faith works when life gets real. And that's the weight of responsibility that comes with living by faith. You are called to reflect strength when others would collapse, peace when others would panic, and trust when others would run. Not because you're better, but because you've built your foundation on something eternal. Living faith is not about pretending life doesn't hurt. It's about refusing to let pain stop your purpose. It's about showing the world what grace looks like under pressure. It's about being the person who stands firm when the storm hits, so that others can see what's possible when they anchor themselves in truth instead of fear. To live faith means you don't just believe in miracles, you become one. Your attitude, your decisions, your resilience, your discipline, they all become proof that belief is stronger than circumstance. It's easy to talk faith when the bank account is full, the doors are open, and the applause is loud. But when things go quiet, when the doors close, when no one's clapping, that's when your faith becomes visible. That's when heaven sees your true devotion. You see, living faith is not about control, it's about surrender. It's about releasing the need to know how things will work out and resting in the certainty that they will. It's about trading anxiety for assurance, not because you understand everything, but because you trust the one who does. You stop chasing outcomes and start walking in alignment. You stop begging for signs and start becoming one. The world is full of people who talk faith, but few who live it. Living faith requires consistency. It demands integrity. You can't preach trust and practice fear. You can't speak abundance and live scarcity. You can't declare purpose and walk in confusion. Every day you must align your thoughts, your words, and your actions with what you believe. Faith without alignment is fantasy. It sounds good but produces nothing. But when your life and your belief move together, you become unstoppable. Being an example of living faith doesn't mean being perfect. It means being authentic. It means admitting when you're scared, but choosing to keep going. It means showing vulnerability without losing vision. It means getting up after every fall, not because you feel strong, but because you know you're not alone. Real faith doesn't eliminate struggle, it transforms how you move through it. There's a reason some people's presence carries peace. It's because they've learned to live in faith. You can feel it when they speak. You can see it in their eyes. They don't react to chaos, they respond with calm. They don't complain, they create. They don't let fear dictate their direction. They let purpose define their path. That's the kind of example faith produces, a person who is grounded, graceful, and guided. When you become an example of living faith, your life stops being about survival and starts being about service. You no longer live just to make it through the day. You live to lift others. You begin to understand that everything you endured had purpose not just for you, but for the people you're meant to inspire. Your story becomes someone else's survival guide. The same mountain you had to climb becomes a map for someone else who's still stuck at the bottom. That's the beauty of living faith, it multiplies. But make no mistake, being an example comes with challenges. It's not easy to stay faithful when everyone else is fearful. It's not simple to walk in peace when others are panicking. There will be days when you question if it's worth it. There will be nights when your own faith feels small. But that's when you must remember, even mustard seed faith can move mountains. Living faith is not about the size of your belief, it's about the persistence of your belief. It's the choice to keep trusting even when trust feels costly. There's a power that comes when you decide to become the evidence. You stop waiting for proof and start being proof. You stop needing external validation because your inner conviction becomes your compass. The storms may come, the winds may shake you, but they cannot uproot you because you've built your life on something solid. Faith makes you unshakable, not untouched by pain, but unbroken by it. The most powerful people are not the ones who shout their faith from rooftops. They're the ones who quietly live it in the shadows. They don't need recognition to stay committed. They don't need applause to keep believing. They walk in obedience, even when no one's watching, because they know their reward doesn't come from people, it comes from purpose. That's the secret of living faith. Your motive is not approval, it's alignment. When you truly live in faith, you start to experience peace that doesn't make sense. You stop panicking over what's next because you trust that what's next is already prepared. You stop chasing after what's temporary because you understand your value isn't tied to things, it's tied to purpose. You stop reacting to every obstacle because you know every obstacle is an opportunity to prove what you believe. So live your faith out loud, not through noise, but through consistency. Be kind when it's easier to be cold. Be focused when others are distracted. Be disciplined when others are discouraged. Be patient when others are panicking. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more examples. Your faith might be the light that helps someone else find their way out of darkness. Your perseverance might be the proof that gives someone else permission to try again. Your trust might be the spark that reignites someone else's hope. So live your faith fully, fearlessly, and faithfully. Don't just believe, become. Don't just talk about miracles, walk as one. Because when you live your faith, you don't just change your life, you change the atmosphere around you. You shift the energy in rooms. You influence people without even speaking. You carry presence. You carry purpose. And that's what being an example of living faith is all about. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. You're not here to impress. You're here to inspire. You're not here to compete. You're here to complete the assignment you were given. So stand tall. Live with conviction. Lead with grace. Let your faith not just be a word you say, but a life you display. Because when faith becomes who you are, not just what you have, everything around you begins to transform. The reward of active faith. There comes a moment when you realize faith is not a wish, it's a work. It's not passive belief sitting quietly in your heart. It's movement, momentum, and mastery in motion. Faith becomes powerful when it's active, when you stop just talking about what you believe and start walking it out with conviction. The reward of active faith doesn't come to those who simply hope. It comes to those who act while hoping, those who build while believing, those who move even when they can't yet see the finish line. Active faith is where transformation meets manifestation. It's where the unseen becomes seen and the impossible becomes reality. The first reward of active faith is clarity. So many people pray for answers while sitting still, waiting for the perfect sign, waiting for certainty before they move. But faith doesn't work that way. You don't wait for clarity to act. You act and clarity comes. When you take a step in faith, your path begins to reveal itself, one piece at a time. The next door doesn't open until your feet move toward it. That's how the universe rewards movement. It responds to initiative. When you take aligned action toward what you say you believe, heaven starts orchestrating things on your behalf that your logic could never calculate. The second reward of active faith is growth. When you move with faith, even through uncertainty, you stretch. You learn how to trust deeper. You develop patience, discipline, and courage. Growth doesn't happen when everything is easy. It happens when you decide to walk through what's uncomfortable without losing heart. Active faith strengthens your spiritual muscles. It teaches you to stop relying on your feelings and start standing on your convictions. Feelings fluctuate, but faith is firm. Growth is not in comfort, it's in commitment. The third reward is alignment. When you begin to live by active faith, things in your life start to fall into divine order. People you no longer align with drift away. Opportunities that used to drain you begin to close. New ones that match your purpose begin to open. Active faith clears your path, not because life gets easier, but because you get clearer about what's meant for you. You stop chasing what you think you want and start receiving what you were made for. You stop begging for open doors that lead nowhere and start walking confidently through the ones that lead somewhere sacred. The fourth reward is confidence. There's a certain unshakable confidence that grows in a person who walks in faith daily. Not arrogance, but assurance. Assurance that no matter what happens, you'll find a way because you know you're guided. You no longer panic when plans fall apart because you trust that purpose is still unfolding. Confidence rooted in faith doesn't come from what you have, it comes from who you are and who's guiding you. Every small act of obedience builds your belief that you can handle more. That's the secret. Every time you choose faith over fear, you expand your capacity for greatness. Another reward of active faith is peace. When you live in faith, you stop fighting battles that were never yours to fight. You stop stressing over outcomes you can't control. You learn to rest in the process. Peace is not the absence of pressure, it's the presence of trust. It's knowing that everything you face has a purpose, that every delay is divine timing, that every challenge carries a lesson. Peace is what happens when you no longer let fear direct your focus. You learn to breathe through the unknown because your heart knows it's all working together for your good. Then comes fruitfulness. Active faith always bears fruit. It might not show up overnight, but it always shows up on time. The same way a seed must break before it blooms, your faith must be tested before it produces. The reward comes after the obedience, not before it. You can't plant a seed today and harvest tomorrow, but you can trust the process, knowing that if you keep watering, nurturing, and believing, the results are inevitable. The reward of active faith is that it always produces evidence. Your life begins to overflow with blessings, not because you chased them, but because you became aligned with them. Active faith also brings favor. When you move in faith, you attract divine alignment. People you've never met begin to open doors for you. Opportunities show up at the right time. Conversations happen that shift your life forward. You begin to experience what people call luck, but it's not luck, it's positioning. Favor finds you when you're walking in purpose. You're not chasing validation. It's chasing you because you've become valuable to your assignment. The next reward of active faith is resilience. When you've walked through storms and kept moving, you become unshakable. You stop breaking down at every setback because you've seen how faith works. It always brings you through. Resilience is built in repetition. Every time you refuse to quit, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you push through resistance, you gain endurance. Active faith teaches you to view trials not as punishment, but as preparation. You begin to thank God for the storm because it trained you for the next season of success. Then comes joy. Not happiness that depends on circumstances, but joy that flows from conviction. Joy that says, even in the middle of the struggle, I know I'm being shaped for something greater. Active faith doesn't eliminate challenges, it transforms how you experience them. You start to find meaning in the moments that used to break you. You start to smile in seasons where others would give up because you know how the story ends victory. That's the kind of joy that can't be stolen because it's rooted in knowing who's really in control. And finally, the ultimate reward of active faith is transformation. You can't keep walking in faith and stay the same. You evolve. You become more grounded, more grateful, more guided. The person you used to be doubtful, anxious, reactive fades away. A new version of you emerges, focused, faithful, and fearless. You start living with purpose instead of pressure. You start leading with peace instead of panic. You start creating from conviction instead of desperation. Transformation is not an event, it's a lifestyle that active faith sustains. You begin to see the difference between people who wait for miracles and those who become them. You stop sitting in circles of comfort and start moving in patterns of purpose. You stop needing to see proof before you move and start becoming proof for others. That's the reward. Your life becomes a reflection of faith in motion. People look at you and see what's possible when you stop doubting and start doing. Active faith changes your energy. It raises your frequency. It aligns you with divine timing. It attracts resources, relationships, and results. It teaches you that what's meant for you will always find you, but only when you move toward it. Because faith doesn't chase, it attracts through obedience. So ask yourself, are you waiting for life to change, or are you walking toward the change? Are you praying for doors to open, or are you stepping in the direction where those doors exist? The reward of active faith belongs to the movers, the builders, the believers who act even when afraid, who trust even when tired, who sow even when the soil looks dry. When you activate your faith, you awaken your destiny. Every step you take in belief becomes a seed that multiplies. And one day, you'll look back at all the times you almost gave up and realize that every act of obedience was building a masterpiece. That's the reward. Not just success, but significance. Not just progress, but purpose. Not just results, but revelation. Because the truth is, the greatest reward of faith is not what you get, it's who you become while walking it out.